I always start my classes with a corny dad joke. And so today's is, I'm making a new documentary on how to fly a plane. And currently I'm filming the pilot. But all right, if you can take 2 deep breaths with me, in through the mouth, out through the nose, or if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, feel free to do it with your eyes open. Get into this receiving information mode. Many people have suffered emotional or physical trauma. Even when they've worked hard to heal, they will always be vulnerable and being triggered by an event that unearths those painful moments. Those episodes of emerging trauma are often unpredictable, but more likely to occur if people continue to pick partners who are similar in some ways to those who caused those painful episodes to begin with. And keeping in mind, we often do pick those types of partners because we are attracted to familiarity. So if we were born and raised in a toxic or dysfunctional environment, what are we going to be drawn to? Somebody that's familiar to that. And so oftentimes we wind up with people that are not the best for us, and they ultimately become our wound mates by triggering, PTSD or CPTSD within us. Memories of previous traumas can surface in all relationships. Those reliving them may feel as if they are happening again in the present. They may mentally regress to the age where when the trauma first occurred or initially happened. From that more powerless perspective, they are more likely to feel the original fear, immobilization, and hopelessness of the original trauma. Because trauma in our body doesn't have an age. We could be 2, experience trauma, and then it can affect us the same way when we're 52. Certainly we can, do some things to heal it and so forth. But like I always say, once traumatized, always vulnerable. Many traumas feel too humiliating and vulnerable for people to share with their partners, especially if they were made to feel like they deserved what happened to them. As a result, they cannot ask for help that they need from their partners. If they have never shared their past pain or what caused it, their partners may feel defensive and not able to understand that it may have nothing to do with them. So unexplored and untreated recurring traumas can destroy even the best of relationships. Fortunately, there are ways to heal these interactions if both partners are willing to participate. So if you have a partner who is on board and willing to help heal trauma, I'm going to give you a couple steps, like 8 things to do to identify emerging trauma and how together you guys can transform it. So if your trauma is not being triggered, you will have typical interactions with your partner. If suddenly you have an emotional reaction that is intense, unpredictable, and fear-based, you may consciously or unconsciously be experiencing emerging trauma. Pay attention to any emotional, physical, sexual, or intellectual thoughts or feelings that are surfacing at an intense rate and focused at your partner. These feelings are signaling to you that something is going on that feels out of your control. You suddenly don't trust your partner and feel the need to protect yourself. You may begin crying, yelling, or even wanting to run away. Ask your partner to give you a minute to reflect. Now, how do you feel? Try to remember anything that was happening at that age. Who or what could have been hurting you, and how? Was there anyone who tried to help you? Was the experience a one-time event or a repeated event? Was there anyone who tried to help you? Were you blamed? Were you made to feel guilty? Was the person enabled that was offending you? Were you told never to tell anyone, or were you made to feel shamed by your quote participation? Have any of these thoughts and feelings emerged in any of your other relationships, your adult relationships? What did your partner say or do that might have triggered your trauma? It could have been a facial expression, a certain verbal sound, a threatening posture. Did it feel intentional or accidental? Did those behaviors feel threatening in any way? Do you feel you are responding to someone who's also in the room or who your partner reminds you of? Have you experienced these painful, unpredictable, and intense eruptions in other relationships? Trauma spills over, it carries over. It's like lava, it travels and often kills everything in its path. 4, try to think of ways your current partner is different from those who hurt you in the past. Just because somebody has similar personality, behavior, idiosyncrasies, what have you, does not mean they have the same intentions. Have you trusted your partner in other situations, but you can't right now? Number 5, once you are aware that your reactions are out of proportion to the crisis at hand, admit to your partner that you are aware that something deeper is happening to you and that you need to be still and try to understand what's driving you to a typically intense and painful behavior. If he or she, your partner, has begun reacting defensively or getting angry at what you feel, what might feel like unfair treatment to them, just ask them to please understand and be patient until you can separate your traumatic memories from what's happening in the moment. Our spouses can trigger us, especially if we have CPTSD from childhood, and especially, Lord have mercy, if we have any type of CPTSD from childhood and then infidelity within our relationships. Reconciling, forgiving, and rebuilding is a whole nother chapter of a whole nother intense book. Not impossible, just more challenging. Number 6, if you're able to remember what happened, can you trust your partner enough to share what happened to you, or at least tell him or her that something terrible happened and that you are reacting as if it's happening right at this moment? Because again, according to your body, the body keeps the score. The body remembers dates. Hypothetically speaking, if your D-Day was, October 3rd, whatever, every October 3rd, you might not even consciously realize it, but all of a sudden, October 1st, you're starting to get a stomach ache, a headache, you're nauseous. What is going on? D-Day is 2 days away. 7, try to ask for what you need from your partner if you can. Sometimes just being held safely in those moments will calm you down and help you begin to heal. As you ask your partner to be the person whom you needed to care for with you at the time of your original trauma. So ideally, you would give yourself what you need when you're triggered. If you need physical touch, touch yourself. If you need to sing, if you need to ground yourself, tell yourself you're safe, whatever. If you have a partner who's on board, they can also help you in this area as well. Again, this could be tricky if you're actually working on trauma from your spouse or significant other. Keep that in mind. Don't allow yourself to bury the trauma again. We can bury trauma, and we often do, and then we try to numb and avoid and escape from it. But just like you are squeezing Jell-O in your hands, it will find a way out, and then it's out of your control. So it's much rather to give Jell-O a space and a place where it could sit so you can address it, as opposed to ignoring it. Number 8, recognize that your resurfacing trauma is a signal that you have not adequately healed from it. You've not understood how it's interfered with your ability to trust or heal in intimate relationships. Trauma will find us and will interrupt us and will affect us. No doubt about it. 6 months out of trauma, 6 years out of trauma, 6 decades out of trauma. The body keeps the score. That pattern is likely to repeat itself in subsequent relationships, especially if you pick similar partners. And this is what's interesting too. I talk to people and they're like, why do I always find the same losers? Why do I always date the same guys who bring out the worst in me? Why do I this and this? And I say, well, with all the love in my heart, let me ask you a nice question. Who's the common denominator? So heal your nonsense so you're not inviting nonsense into your life. If your partner is available, going to see a therapist trained in trauma together can bring you guys closer and strengthen your bond. And like I said, everybody here is relatively trauma informed. So you're in a great place. Now, keep in mind, of course, none of this helps at all if your partner was the cause of your trauma, and you're not with that partner anymore, or they're, a narcissist, or they're not wanting to help you. I mean, none of this, this class doesn't apply to you. But if you have reconciled and you're building and together you're working on helping one another, then these are some tips and techniques that you guys can do to help one another through some of these traumatic responses and experiences. It has been said that you can marry one person or devote your life to one partner, but over the course of 40, 50, 60 years, you're going to be married to many different people. People change. I say we are human beings, but far more than that, we're human evolvements. We change, we evolve, we grow. So is the person you're with. We love, we forgive, we rebuild, we reconcile. If that's in your cards, don't do it if it's not, period. But what I'm saying is, if you're with somebody and you did decide to rebuild, invite them in to help you out with your trauma. Life is not easy. What you're dealing with is not easy. Your decisions are not easy. Just want to validate that. God bless you all. Until next time.